listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me in all of the different avenues that you can. I appreciate you very much. Make sure to check out my Twitter. @SportsCloud is how you can get to me on Twitter. And I've got a loaded show for you today, starting with, of course, Jeff Fisher, which I realize I have typecasted myself. I didn't realize that that's what I did, but that's what I've done. I've typecasted myself, which is when you watch a movie, right, and you see somebody in a different role, and they are playing the same role in every movie. Michael Cera is the same guy in every movie. Just happens, right? Jim Carrey, for the most part, ends up playing the same guy. And when he doesn't, you either get a movie that everybody loves, like The Truman Show, or a movie that everybody loves if you've ever heard of it, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is a fantastic movie if you ever want to check it out. But you don't know Jim Carrey for that particular role because Jim Carrey is mostly the Jim Carrey that gets typecast in Mr. Popper's Penguins and I don't know, Yes Man. He just is the goofy, crazy, wild guy. Even though Jim Carrey can actually act. I mean, there's a lot more range there than just sheer goofiness. Okay, but you get typecast. But typically, one does not typecast themselves. I've typecasted myself. I have shoehorned myself into being the guy that talks about Jeff Fisher, which is not a place that I wanted to be because I get pretty much no joy in talking about Jeff Fisher. That's a lie. I get a small amount of joy in talking about Jeff Fisher because he's the most interesting person on the planet Earth. He's the most interesting man in the world. Okay, replace him with the Dos Equis guy. If you add a little bit more gray to Jeff Fisher, you probably could replace him with the Dos Equis guy. But most importantly, he's the most interesting guy on earth because nobody confounds logic quite like Jeff Fisher. And I know I went in on Jeff Fisher on Monday because he got a 2-year extension with the LA Rams in a way that doesn't make any sense because Jeff Fisher is neither succeeding this season, nor has Jeff Fisher succeeded last season or the season before that or the season before that or any season really. And yet somehow he continues to get job after job after job. And I want to know why, right? And yesterday I was insinuating that Butch Jones and Donald Trump had a lot in common. And that is because Butch Jones and Donald Trump have ways of being, especially in public, that they could probably stand to change a little bit. If you change that, public perception of you would change. If Butch Jones stopped speaking in vague, cliche coach speak, people would be able to palate some of those losses and some of the things that Butch Jones doesn't do very well a little bit better. They would. They would. You've got people who are able to defend a guy like that. Like, look, he's trying his best. He cares. Donald Trump tweets in the middle of the night. And he tweets about everything. Boeing and their contract with the U.S. and making Air Force One and the Navy. Just everything. And I think that he could stand to stop tweeting. At the very minimum, I'm not asking him to change who he is as a person. I'm not asking him to fundamentally change in any way. Just stop tweeting everything that crosses your mind at 1:30 a.m. Go to bed. Right? Like, if you did that, people would be able to palate that. Right? Like, those two things they have in common. And Jeff Fisher is in the same mold of guy. Because Jeff Fisher does something that I'm convinced is the reason why he still has a job. I have pondered this all week. I've spent way too much time thinking about why does Jeff Fisher have a job? Because he's getting paid $7 million next year and $9 million the year after that to not be a good football coach. And look, I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying nobody's paying me $7 million a year to be a bad football coach. So what did I do wrong? Jeff Fisher's found the tried and true formula of being a bad football coach and continuing to have a paycheck. Do you know what that is? First off, it's not to be terrible. Jeff Fisher's bad, but he's not terrible. He's bad, but he's not terrible. So that's step one. Step two is once you are 7-9 and 9-7 and 8-8 every year for your whole life, you need to succeed somewhat once. Jeff Fisher went to a Super Bowl. He got dragged there by Steve McNair. You don't give Jeff Fisher a decent quarterback. Jeff Fisher is an awful coach. Right? You give Bill Belichick Matt Castle, you're still 12-4. Right? Like you're in a bad division, but you're still 12-4. Matt Castle's not a good quarterback. Otherwise, he'd still be in the league. You give Jeff Fisher anything that's not greatness, and he is unequivocally going to be 7-9, 8-8, 9-7. That is his ballpark range. That is his ceiling is 9 victories in a season. We're not seeing double digits really, right? So Jeff Fisher, average. He's not a complete failure, so he can give you promise of what's to come. And he succeeded once. What's the next step in Jeff Fisher's master plan? The next step in Jeff Fisher's master plan is, and this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. The next step in Jeff Fisher's master plan is that nothing is ever Jeff Fisher's fault. Ever. Not one thing, not never, not once is Jeff Fisher's fault. And people don't take responsibility for their actions. But I don't know that anybody has ever done it at the level that Jeff Fisher has done this at. Nothing is Jeff Fisher's fault. Jeff Fisher has run out the same excuse week in and week out. Yesterday I was talking about Butch Jones and his quotes, that if you took Butch Jones' quotes from a year ago and played them after some of the games that Tennessee's played this year, you couldn't tell the difference. If you took out the times where he pointed out stats specifically and just said, where's a Butch Jones quote with anything of substance ever? You couldn't find it. You couldn't find it. Jeff Fisher is the same way. That's right. Jeff Fisher's the same way, because Jeff Fisher has gotten in front of the media multiple times and said this season that nobody has gone through more than what the Rams have gone through in the offseason. Which, apart from the fact that that's not true, because firstly, the Browns will always go through more in an offseason than you will go through in an offseason, for they are the Browns. So that's not even true, for starters. Secondly, even if it were true, Jeff, look at me, Jeff. Listen to me, Jeff. Well, let me just tell you what you're listening to right now. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. We're talking about Jeff Fisher and how it is that Jeff Fisher still somehow has a job. And because Jeff Fisher still somehow has a job, and this is the last reason right here, Jeff Fisher is an elite excuse maker. He is the best. And SB Nation, there was an article on SB Nation by Ryan Van Bibber about Jeff Fisher and what Jeff Fisher said about his teams every week this season. So it's week 13, and Jeff Fisher is still running out the nobody has had to go through more than we have this season. 13 weeks into the season, Jeff, you're going to have to overcome it. That's how sports work. This is Jeff Fisher's week 13 excuse after losing to the Patriots. Coaches, We don't like making excuses. We just move on from week to week. And before he could take his next breath, he then offered up an excuse. We didn't have Rob Quinn. We didn't have Tavon Austin. We didn't have Roger Saffold yesterday, and we played the New England Patriots. If you're going to have a chance to beat them, you're going to go in there with all hands on deck. Week 12 versus the Saints. Jeff Fisher, excuse. We've been through a lot. It's not an excuse, but we've been through more than any other team in the National Football League this offseason. The moves and the travel and all those things. We're dealing with those the best we can. And then, because he's given us a twofer, obviously, they had an extra 3 or 4 days to prepare for us, having played last Thursday night. Okay. Fine, Jeff. Week 11 versus the Dolphins. There was constant pressure. The coverage didn't allow it. We had some shots. He, Jared Goff, made a good throw to Kenny Britt, and we didn't come up with the ball. We would have liked to have seen pass interference called on that play, which is a field position change. Is it though, Jeff? Or is your team poorly coached? Week 9 versus the Panthers. Like, there's every single week this season, Jeff Fisher has run out a new excuse, a brand spanking new excuse. And that is how you continue to have a job in the NFL, whereupon you should probably have no job. You are an excuse maker greater than anyone has seen in the history of sports. I would argue the world, but I can't prove that, so I'll just settle on sports. Because, like, the whole thing that we like about sports, the thing that we like about guys, is that, like, guys are held accountable for stuff. You hold yourself accountable. You hold your players accountable. You hold yourself accountable. And if you're the coach and your team is a 4-win team 13 weeks into an NFL season where you said, because you were followed around by HBO cameras on Hard Knocks, that you are not going to go 8-8 again. Well, you might not go 8-8 because you might not make it to 8 wins. It's doubtful. And still somehow Jeff Fisher said something to Stan Kroenke to convince this man to allow him to collect another paycheck. Jeff Fisher's just out here collecting paychecks. And I don't know how he's doing it. That's a talent and a skill. Like, I can't even really be mad at the guy. Because if you could do that, right? If you could go into your boss right now and tell your boss, look, sir, I've been average. I've been nothing but average. At best, I have been slightly above average. And I know that they're going to make some cuts around here. I know. And my performance has not been in range for me to survive these cuts. But you know what? You should keep me on board. And then your boss did it. If you could do that, you'd do it. If you could mind trick your boss into never firing you, no matter how average or mediocre you are, then yeah, you would do it. And it's funny because I was Googling stuff about Jeff Fisher, and a Fox Sports article came up that was written actually today about the 5 most Jeff Fisher seasons of all time. Because Jeff Fisher is known as Mr. 8-8. Mr. 8-8. I mean, you got to respect the title there. And basically, most of Jeff Fisher's most average seasons came while he was coaching in Tennessee. Right? Cited in the article are the 97 Tennessee Oilers, in which Jeff Fisher was 8-8. The 2006 Tennessee Titans, in which Jeff Fisher was 8-8. The 2009 Tennessee Titans, in which Jeff Fisher was 8-8. His offense ranked 15th in the league, so perfectly average with a below-average defense and a below-average special teams. And it's my favorite one, and it's the number 1 Jeff Fisher season of all time. And the synopsis reads, "This is Jeff Fisher's Mona Lisa. The Titans were average or worse across the board and excelled in inconsistency. After Vince Young injured his knee in 2008, the team turned to a 36-year-old Kerry Collins, who led the Titans to an unexpected 13-3 record. Fisher decided to stick with Collins in 2009. In his second season, running back Chris Johnson became the league's sixth 2,000-yard rusher with 2,006 yards, 2,509 yards from scrimmage, and 16 total touchdowns. Vince Young earned a Pro Bowl nod in a season in which he didn't get his job back until week 7. And what happened? The team lost its first 6 games, and Jeff Fisher finally succumbed to pressure to start Vince Young, even though he was, quote, still in Kerry Collins' corner because he didn't believe that his record was a reflection of the quarterback play, which, by the way, is an excuse that Butch Jones is still using to this day. Of those 6 losses was a 59-0 beatdown by the Patriots in the snow. And then they started Vince Young after that, and they won 5 of their last 8, or 5 straight and 8 of their last 10, materializing in 8-8. How did this guy get a job doing that? You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. If you like the skewering of Jeff Fisher, it never ends. It continues on Twitter. Make sure to give me a follow at SportsCloud. Is the way to go. Man. So another way in which I have typecasted myself, because I have done so. I didn't mean to. This is not what I wanted in my life. This is where we wound up. I have typecasted myself. This is what happened, right? I talk about Cam too much, too. But people get crazy about Cam. Cam does stuff, and people are just like lose their minds. And it's not like we don't know what Cam is. He is immature. He's been immature since he got in the league. He hasn't stopped being immature. He became better at winning. But like all the immature stuff about Cam that everybody likes, they're all cool with it when it's good. Like Cam's out there dabbing. Cam is out there looking like he has fun playing football, which I don't think we like. I think we want guys to be serious. I take the game seriously, and I've never played a game of football that I didn't play with my life on the line. Like, no, that guy's got to have fun, okay? And he plays like he plays like he likes fun, and it's fun. The game is fun. The game looks like a game when he plays it. We don't like that. We don't like it at all. And so when it backfires, when you're not winning football games, when you're losing, and the dabbing becomes sulking and moping, which I agree. Look, that's not attractive. Nobody likes that. Right? But like it comes with the territory. You can't like the immaturity when it's a smile and hate it when it's a frown. But that doesn't make any sense. And it's completely worthless. Completely worthless. I'm cool with it. But Cam got suspended. Not suspended. He got benched by Ron Rivera. And he got benched because Ron Rivera says, he told Cam, you're going to wear a tie at this press conference. And he straight up told Cam to his face, you're going to wear a tie at this press conference. Now, other people are rumoring that maybe something else happened. It doesn't really matter what it is. Ron Rivera said to Cam, as his boss, this is what you're going to do. Cam chose not to do it. He got benched. And so, yeah. Cam getting benched. Look, I think that Cam deserved to get benched. If Ron Rivera wants to treat a superstar quarterback like everybody else on the roster, what's wrong with that? Okay, Greg Popovich does this all the time. Bill Belichick does it all the time. We praise them because they win. The Panthers are having a bad season, so we're jumping down Ron Rivera's throat. I don't agree with that. Ron Rivera made the decision that was best for him and his football team. And kudos to him for having the guts to do it, because I don't think a lot of people would have. People would have probably benched him for a series or benched him for a quarter, like that fake Johnny Manziel benching that Kevin Sumlin did a couple of years back. Right? So Ron Rivera does that, and Richard Sherman starts to pipe up and talk about Cam Newton. Richard Sherman is talking about Cam and is going on and on about, well, he deserved it, and all of these things, and that he should follow the rules and all those stuff. And people start to write this story like, oh, Richard Sherman blasts Cam Newton. Richard Sherman annihilates Cam Newton. No, he didn't. Richard Sherman said the most reasonable thing from the point of view of a player in the league who does not play a star position. And to be clear, Richard Sherman is a star, but the cornerback position in the NFL is not a star position. You can be a star in the league at that position, but the position isn't a star position. When you become a star in the league at that position, that's because you are really good, and you are really good at vocalizing that you're really good. Right? Because every guy that's ever played that position in order to get recognition has had to do that. Richard Sherman has had to do that. Josh Norman is doing that. Deion Sanders did that. Okay? And the guys that were great at that position and didn't have to vocalize it, you are the oddity and the odd man out, right? Darrelle Revis is not as vocal as Richard Sherman, but he's a vocal guy. You put a microphone in Darrelle Revis' face, and Darrelle Revis is going to tell you some things. But we're blowing that out of proportion. Because Richard Sherman's speaking the truth. If you break the rules on your team, you should be punished. That's how this works. And I understand the argument made by many people, right? Like Colin Cowherd is the guy that loves to argue that life's not fair. You don't get treated like superstars do because life's not fair and you just have to deal with it. But my argument is this. That's what rules are for. Rules exist because life's not fair. If you didn't have rules, life's not fair. If you didn't have rules, the biggest, strongest guy in society would walk into your house, eat your food, take your stuff, leave. Drive off in your car. And there would be nothing you could do about it because, well, life's just not fair. No, because life's not fair, when all of those things happen, that guy goes to jail. Right? That's why we fight corruption. You don't get to get away with stuff just because you're richer or because you're famous. That's corruption if you let it happen. Life's not fair. That's why we have rules. Life's not fair. So Cam could foreseeably get away with all the stuff that he can get away with. But he has rules that keep him in check. Rules are an attempt to make life more fair. Okay, so if you got a problem with a coach enforcing his own rules, you have a problem with society. And at that point, I have to question what it is that you're doing here. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, a sports show. We get together and do this every single day, Monday to Thursday. Thank you for joining me today. We've got quite a lot to get into. The community corner is coming up. We've got the Mox Minute. We're going to talk some NCAA hoops next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
8:40 Nooganomics Radio News. Russell Stroud reporting. A Bradley County man was riddled by bullets early this morning. He was airlifted to Erlanger. Detectives are trying to find out what exactly happened. The shooting occurred on Zion Hill Road. And in Harrison, another man was airlifted after a serious ATV accident. He apparently crashed and was seriously injured. He had to be airlifted by Life Force to Erlanger Medical Center. Hamilton County Sheriff's investigating. 2 more school bus lawsuits have popped up against Durham School Services. 2 of them filed on behalf of Barbara Eccles and Tanasia Williams, the mother of a 7-year-old boy and the mother of a 10-year-old girl. Both were injured in the bus wreck, which killed 6 on Talley Road. In Sevier County, 2 teenagers have been charged with aggravated arson. Both were taken into custody and taken to Sevier County Juvenile Detention Center. They're accused of starting the fire, which caused so much tragedy and death and destruction in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we want to remind you, as it gets freezing outside, bring your pets indoors or give them adequate shelter. It's not just a good idea, it's also the law. It's going on in the Tennessee Valley. It's going on AM 1240 Nooganomics Radio.
Clear skies continue through your nighttime. Very cold overnight. Lows 20 to 24.
for Friday. Lots of sunshine. Still a little breeze out of the north. Highs only 38 to 40. Tomorrow night, lows closer to 20. More sunshine, a little warmer Saturday, back into the 40s. Black Friday deals are still happening at Lowe's. Hurry in and save $150 on a DeWalt 20-volt combo kit. Offer valid December 14th through December 24th. See Lowe's store for details. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Matt Report. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ho, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry, and save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 50% off right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, Raider Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on a county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is a field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. It is now time for our community corner, still lacking entirely in a jingle. And we have our guest here.
We're still waiting for that jingle.
Lachey Rockmore of SWAG, which stands for Scholars Working to Achieve Greater Goals. And Janelle is here to have the interview, to start the interview up. So, shall we begin?
Yeah, we can. I'm just trying to see if I can hear what's going on here. I don't have headphones. It's kind of exciting. So today we are looking at something that's really exciting, something kind of new, something kind of up and coming, and something definitely urban. I know that we have often talked about in the community, I should say. It's definitely a necessary thing to talk about. What's happening within our urban city and our inner city. These are buzz phrases that have definitely been thrown around, and there's been a lot of controversy, but not a lot of solution. And so we were graced to run into Miss Lachey and kind of learn a little bit about what she was doing to actually be part of the solution in these communities. So, Lachey, without further ado, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. And we're super excited to have you. So, Scholars Working to Achieve Greater Goals. That is a really long title. Do you have a nickname? Or do you have what else do you go by?
I go by swag.
Swag.
So it's
swag management.
There you go. It's a catchy phrase for the youth. And that's more so my target population.
That's really exciting. So, Lachey, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about you and the Chattanooga community. How have you been a part of the Chattanooga community?
Well, a little bit about myself. My name is Lachey Rockymore. I was born here in Chattanooga. I went off to college at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I graduated from one of our schools known as the iZone School at Brainerd High School. I graduated from Brainerd High School, top 5% of my class, and I went off to college. I pretty much, when I graduated, I saw that there was a high need in my community when it was due to poverty and violence. So I decided to bring my social skills down to Chattanooga and began working with youth.
That is awesome. So you said something that our listeners may not be aware of. You mentioned that you graduated one of our Chattanooga iZone schools. What is an iZone school? Is that a school that has a lot of eye products?
Yes. An iZone school, the I stands for Innovation Zone. There's 5 schools in the district of Hamilton County here in Chattanooga. The high school is Brainerd High School. There's 2 middle schools, which is Woodard Knob and Dalewood, and 2 elementary schools. These schools are basically the 5 lowest performing academic schools in their zone, and they basically are the ones that are on watch. Unfortunately, a report came out in March of 2015 this year that is saying that they did not meet their mark in the last 3 years when it comes to academic achievement.
So, Lachey, why is that significant? What happens in these areas, would you say, or with these kids who possibly are struggling? What kind of statistics or numbers can we see? Do we think that that's related to violence, to crime? I mean, I guess I'm asking you a lot of questions here. But when we're looking at these iZone schools and we're looking at students who are possibly underperforming for a various amount of reasons, we're not necessarily here to peg the schools per se, but we're looking at the youth outcomes and we're looking at the students who are affected by that. So what can you tell us about the outcomes for those students who are coming out of those iZone schools in these urban areas?
Absolutely. I'm focused primarily on managing the behavior and improving the safety so that we can have a very safe learning environment, not only inside the school, but also inside the community. What we're seeing is a high violence rate inside our community and a low performance academic rate inside our schools. And according to that same news article, that last year, 53% of those students was absent from school in a very, very large percent of days. And they said that 30% of those missed at least 1 day per week. 30%. I mean, that is very, very high. And they said also that Brainerd had last year 328 suspensions.
Wow. That's a lot.
328 suspensions.
Wow. And so you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, and on the phone we have Lachey Rockymore with Swag Management, Scholars Working to Achieve Greater Goals, an urban community nonprofit that's really looking to target some of the most important issues that we have within our school system, specifically our iZone schools, who ironically tend to be within our deeper inner city here in Chattanooga. So, Lachey, you're talking to us about the amount of suspensions. You said over 300 suspensions. You mentioned that some of these students who are in these iZone areas are missing at least a day a week, if not more, class time. I mean, that's huge when it comes to success. Are these kids succeeding? I'm sorry, I apologize. Yeah, it is very huge. And I'm asking, are these students succeeding? Are we seeing success in high numbers of graduation, high numbers of high school completion, high numbers of college enrollment? Is this what we're seeing with these kids who are missing all this school and being suspended?
Very, very low numbers of academic achievement, which have been reported, and now there's a very, very high investigation into Hamilton County Education Department itself. And I mean, it's not really a secret that we actually have our outskirts schools trying to pull away from our Hamilton County district. I mean, that's the no now. I mean, that's what's going on like today.
Gotcha. So, okay. And really quickly, do you have any other maybe pressing knowledge or stats that you'd like to share about like the violence in the community? You mentioned that was also something that you're focusing on, and that's kind of tied to this.
Absolutely, and that's really why I stress that there's over 300 suspensions in just 1 year for one school. And what statistics say from the National Alliance of Mental Illness that there's 1 in every 5 kids ages from 13 to 18 has a serious mental illness.
Gotcha.
13 to 18, and this is the age group that is also in high school. So I'm really dedicated on addressing mental illness as a solution to a lot of our community concerns.
Gotcha.
And one of my methods is actually music. And my main focus is to promote the social skills and responsibility by preventing violence within the community through music.
Gotcha.
So the purpose is to strengthen our social skills and to promote education, advocacy, and knowledge in order to gain the trust of our community and actually, as we say in social work, as building that rapport.
Awesome.
There's a huge trust issue when it comes to the inner city community and the district, I should say.
Awesome.
So we have to build those relationships in a caring way in order to succeed as one.
That's huge. So again, we're talking to Lachey Rocky-Moore from Swag Management, again, scholars working to achieve greater goals. And we're talking about kind of some of the issues that we're facing in our urban Chattanooga communities and looking at some of the bigger issues that are coming out of these students who aren't succeeding well in school, who are not having high academic achievement for various reasons. We're seeing that there's high rates of violence. We're seeing that there are other issues, psychosocial issues that are dealing with mental health, issues that are dealing with connection and rapport. The community also, from what Lachey is sharing with us, there's trust issues that are coming within these communities because of these violence statistics and some of these other things. So, Lachey, we're really excited because you said enough. You said, I'm going to do something about this. And we've kind of been going back and forth a little bit about kind of some of the reasoning why you began this program. So let's talk a little bit about the program itself. Scholars working to achieve greater goals. This is awesome. You mentioned mental health. You mentioned cognitive skills. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what you're doing to set these goals with these students? What does this look like if a student was to enroll in your program?
Well, what it looks like is first recognizing the community in which I serve. I deal with youth like on a daily basis, and there's a 9 to 5 also out in my community. And a lot of their focus is on their attire or how they look. So my objective is to get that just as important as what's in your brain. So a lot of that is actually creating a transition from reactive actions into proactive actions, so that they're actually thinking before they're doing. And that's going to reduce a lot of high emotional violence, actually making them think before they actually act when it comes to behavior issues. Because when it comes to the school district and over 300 suspensions in 1 year, it sounds like a lot of behavior issues just cannot be handled in school. And then we cannot put that all on the school district. It's also due to the community and the households in which they live. So I'm focused mainly on getting those engagements, like what we use in social work is called the whole child approach. Not only focusing on that child, but every segment that links to that child during a day-to-day access. So what I do currently is manage 3 groups. It's the artist Chemo, a group called Our More Studios, and a local food chain and entertainment local called Hip Hop Cafe, creating a trio dynamic for community development.
Wow, that's really awesome. Okay, so again, this is Clutch with Keon Rose, and we are talking with Lachey Rockmore of Swag Management, and she is sharing with us her nonprofit and how this nonprofit is working directly with our urban youth in our inner cities who are struggling to have high academic achievement. And I'm really excited because Lachey is talking from a social work perspective, and she is sharing with us some of that mentality behind what she's doing. So, Lachey, you shared with us kind of your vision for reducing that reactionary behavior and increasing just emotional competence, emotional intelligence to be able to think before we do. That's very awesome. It seems like this is a challenging group to work with, as you mentioned, with the types of behaviors that you're seeing. You mentioned music. Now, I know that there's a lot of concern and question about some of the music that is, labeled as hip hop or urban. So can you talk a little bit about how that stigma is not being applied here? How you're changing that? What does that look like in this capacity?
Absolutely. The stigma that I feel about hip hop is pretty much the stigma that I feel about mental health. It's something that in our community we have to accept it as it is, and we have to recognize it how it acts on us individually. Music has a very, very essential way of calming you. It has a way of getting you rowdy. It has a way of putting you in certain moods, I should say. And my artist, her name is Chemo, because we use her brand name is chemotherapy. We try to provide music that has a purpose, music that serves an emotional touch. 100%, we talk about it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry, and it's okay to feel how you feel, however that may be. We also not only use that, but the group More Studios is a group of girls 4 to 17, and these young group of girls basically are mentored by some of the community artists that's in the community. And what they are doing are basically interested in the entertainment business, where they might sing, they might want to write, they might want to be a DJ, they might want to be a promoter, they might want to do graphic design, and whatever their skills need, that's basically how we address their creative thinking. In the Hip Hop Cafe, it's a mobile entertainment. It's basically organized around the cultural engagement, using the knowledge from which we have had in the past to bring the knowledge of wisdom in which we can use for tomorrow.
That is awesome. Wow, that's very powerful. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, just a very short few minutes. So I do apologize, and I would like to kind of jump to the community that we're talking to now. You, our listener, I hope you are really enjoying kind of what we're talking about today. And Lachey, can you tell us how we can get into connection with you? Do you have any events coming up? Tell us about what we can do to help our urban community here in Chattanooga through the Swag Management nonprofit. What do you have coming up?
I have a website, which is swag, that's SWAGGMGMT.com. And on that website, each program is basically listed on there. Each program also has a donate button. There's a way that you can just enter and donate directly from online. And also on there is my direct contact information if you will need that.
That's very cool.
What was your...
Yes, that was pretty much my question. So, okay, so that's how we can get in contact with you. Swag, SWAGGMGMT.com, swagmanagement.com. Very cool. Do you have any programs or anything that you have coming up anytime soon?
Yes, we actually have a youth artist development fundraiser happening December the 10th, which is this Saturday at the Chattanooga Convention Center. It will start at 5 p.m. And we can basically accept donations there as well.
So what is happening at this event? Can you tell us a little bit about your event?
Yes, this will be Zamor Studios Entertainment and Performing Arts. It will be a group of young ladies. It will basically be a social entertainment group. The kids will be performing. There will be social engagement. There will be chants. There will be learning. I mean, we will teach them how to record. We'll teach them how to use DJ equipment. We actually teach them the skills of entertainment. I mean, that's really what the organization of Swag Management is about, is actually extending their creative thinking and not only having it as a during time, but we can also have a party and learning. So
very cool. I love your approach. It's very organic and very connected, and I love that. So December the 10th at Chattanooga Convention Center, starting at 5 p.m. Swag Management with Zamor Studios Entertainment is going to have a party for learning. I love that. And connecting with some of the youth as far as music and entertainment and that kind of stuff is concerned. So that's going to be pretty cool. And that's this Saturday, again, the 10th at 5 p.m. Very cool. Well, Lachey, we're coming up on the end of our program here. So I guess my last question to you is, what is it that you want us to take away? The social work question. What's your takeaway? What is the takeaway you want us to have from this experience today?
Just that I'm glad that I was able to sit in on this segment. My whole motion is to create a learning environment of mentorship, guidance, and business love for our inner city. And if you can any way possible help me do that, whether that's by knowledge or by monetary value, I will greatly appreciate it.
That is awesome. Lachey, one last question for you. I know that there's often a lot of fear and things, like you said, trust issues between, others and looking into the urban communities and the inner city communities. There's a lot of fear that comes from that concept. In just a few seconds, what can you answer to us? What is one thing you would want us to think about when we work alongside you with these communities?
We're all the same.
We're all the same. That's beautiful. Thank you again, Lachey, for your time. We're super excited to have you, and we look forward to connecting and to hearing more about what Swag Management Scholars working to achieve greater goals, what you all will achieve in the coming months. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Take care. That was Lachey Rockymore with Swag Management Scholars working to achieve greater goals, an inner city urban community nonprofit. They're having their program December 10th at 5 p.m. at the Chattanooga Convention Center. I'm really interested to see what that's going to be. It's really exciting to have someone from the community working in the community.
Absolutely. So I encourage you all, if you have some time, go out there and check it out to support local community actions. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I hope you enjoyed the interview. The SEC teams were released. All coaches, SEC teams. I have some disagreements. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world. News Talk 1240.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott powers around the outside. Michael McDowell puts the right front tire. Here's Mark Truex to the front. He's walking off too. Came out, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
Is your career taking you where you want to go? If not, talk to Covenant Group Insurance, especially if you like helping people. Call and learn how you can work for yourself, but not by yourself. Intense but free training, plus a fantastic lead program, plus office support equals your success, your prosperity. Gross at least $75,000 your first year selling insurance. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. That's 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you make all year. Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. The agents at Exit Realty Scenic City are confident they can sell your house. They can do it in 99 days or less. If no one works harder for you than agents at Exit Realty Scenic City, licensed in Tennessee and Georgia. Exit sells quickly all types of commercial and residential properties and vacant land. Looking for a dream home, or maybe you're just a first-time home buyer? Let an agent get you started today on your house search. If you're a real estate agent looking for a change, see what Exit can do for you. Training, technology, branding, culture, and financial freedom. Again, Exit Realty Scenic City. Call 423-551-EXIT to learn more. Call 423-551-EXIT and learn more.
Terms and restrictions may apply. And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Race Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living, not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Race Plumbing 421-6341. 421-6341. At Eye Optical, it's a well-known fact. When you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. But did you know Eye Optical has the largest eyeglass selection in the area, with top name brands and styles in the latest trends? Schedule your appointment with one of the doctors today for a comprehensive eye exam. And remember, when you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. Visit eyeoptical.com for a location near you.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sonic Daisy, Chattanooga.
John Glenn, the first American in orbit, dies at 95.
Godspeed, John Glenn.
He was also the oldest ever to fly in space, a 4-term U.S. Senator praised by fellow Senator and astronaut Bill Nelson.
He was the one who paved the way.
President-elect Trump said,
he was a great American hero.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. John Glenn, an American hero, is dead. He died in Columbus, Ohio, age 95. He soared into space twice, first on February 20th, 1962. He rode Friendship 7 into orbit, the first American to get there.
0G, I feel funny.
And that mission was full of drama, lasting 4 hours, 56 minutes. Correspondent Peter King, he covers space for CBS News. And Peter, you remember that day and what John Glenn's accomplishment meant.
So, Dave, we tend to overuse the word hero, but remember in '62, Glenn was the first American to ride a rocket that had blown up repeatedly. Everything in space was new, and there was an incredible amount of pressure on NASA because the Soviet Union was winning the space race. Glenn flew. He became a hero, of course, but there was a great fear that something might happen to him if he flew again, and he didn't. Not until he lobbied NASA, the White House, and flew on the shuttle in 1998. At age 77, the kinds of medical studies that'll be needed to go to Mars.
John Glenn would go on to become a 4-term U.S. Senator from Ohio, and he did fly again in 1998. He lobbied for that, finally riding shuttle Discovery at age 77.
I think too often people set their lives by the calendar. Old folks have ambitions and dreams too, like everybody else. And why don't they work for them? Why don't they go for it? Don't sit on a couch someplace. That's my attitude.
Former astronaut John Grunsfeld helped John Glenn with the shuttle training.
It was interesting at 77 years old when he came back to Houston. It was as if he never left. I mean, he was in the gym working out hard. He was studying hard. He really became a modern astronaut. And after all, it was only his second flight.
Correspondent Peter King, you had spoken with John Glenn on several occasions. Some of your reflections?
To talk to anybody, David, you'll always hear that John Glenn never put on airs. He was always the real deal. Apollo 7 astronaut Walt Cunningham joined NASA the year after Glenn's first flight.
He stuck to the rules and the honors of being a Marine fighter pilot, regardless of what else was going on.
There was nothing. John Glenn interview, he was candid, always interesting. I'd call him Senator or Colonel. He'd say, no, call me John. And I'd say, I can't do that. You're John Glenn.
In a statement, President Obama said the last of America's first astronauts has left us, but propelled by their example, we know our future on Earth compels us to keep reaching for the heavens. Ed Harris played John Glenn in the movie The Right Stuff. Today, Harris said Glenn was a decent and honorable man, sends much love and good thoughts to Annie and his family. Now this.
If you can't seem to stay ahead of your bills, then this message is for you. How would you like to have a large portion of your credit card debt, medical bills, and department store debt forgiven? National Credit Card Relief would like to give you free information on a proven debt forgiveness program. This program has been used by thousands to legally forgive millions in unsecured debt. It's not bankruptcy. It's not consolidation. This special program actually wipes clean the portion of your debt that is forgiven from what you owe your creditors. Call for free information and get all your questions answered in the first free call. The more you owe, the more you can save. If you have at least $10,000 or more in credit card bills, this debt forgiveness program can be very effective. Call for free information and find out more now. 800-291-6670. There is no cost or obligation for the information. Don't wait. Call 800-291-6670. That's 800-291-6670. Get your debt problem solved. Call 800-291-6670 today. Not available in North Dakota.
A second Georgia police officer has died following a shootout in the past day. And in Americus, Georgia, suspect Miguel Limbrick was found in a house. He has been killed, but he died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Now to Charleston, South Carolina. CBS's Jim Krasula covering the Dylan Roof murder case.
Jurors in the federal hate crimes trial of Dylan Roof have seen surveillance video showing the 22-year-old white man entering Emmanuel AME Church. He's seen leaving nearly an hour later through a side door holding a handgun. Many of the 9 black worshipers who were killed were also seen on video clips entering the church.
Another record-setting close for the Dow. Up 65 points, finishing at 19,614. NASDAQ, a record now, 5,417 after a
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always call me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, see what my needs are. Gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody over there cares about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard, and they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertising. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guaranteed by far.
AM 1240.
1240hotnewstalkradio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at nougaradiosteve@gmail.com. That's nougaradiosteve@gmail.com. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
Okay. We're going to awkwardly amble back to sports. It's weird having community corners sometimes because it's like, okay, we're going to talk about something that really matters, and then we're going to shuffle our way on back to sports. And we do so awkwardly because like there is a certain level of acknowledgement that like we like sports just because we like it. Like it's not an actual this stuff matters, really. Like it matters to us. And that's why we do it. So we always end up like with this awkward amble back. And anytime a news story breaks, that I have to do an update on the news story during this show, that's when it really feels weird. You get the update, you do the update on the show, and then you're like, okay, I'm done talking about this super serious thing or this tragedy. Time to amble back into what I was saying about Jalen Hurts. And you just feel awkward, like you're walking with your pants around your ankles, because that's what it feels like. Every single time. Like not once does that feel natural. And one of these days, there's just going to be a natural transition. We're going to swing back to it, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're not at that day yet, but it's going to happen. I believe. I believe. So the SEC coaches released the all-SEC coaches team, and unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Alabama players in the all-SEC coaches team, right? Like this is the coaches' first team on offense. Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Cameron Petway of Auburn, running back, Darius Geis, LSU, the running back, Christian Kirk from Texas A&M, wide receiver, Darius Stewart from Alabama, wide receiver, Evan Engram, tight end from Ole Miss, Cam Robinson, offensive line, Alabama, Dan Skipper, Arkansas, offensive line, Avery Genesee, Texas A&M, offensive line, Will Clapp, offensive line, LSU, Ethan Pochich, offensive line, LSU, and then Christian Kirk is the all-purpose player of the year, which I totally agree with. Defensive. D-line, Jonathan Allen, Alabama, Myles Garrett, Texas A&M, Carl Lawson of Auburn, Derek Barnett, Tennessee, Kendall Beckwith, LSU, Zach Cunningham, Vanderbilt. These are linebackers, I should say. Kendall Beckwith, LSU, Zach Cunningham, Vanderbilt, Reuben Foster, Alabama, and then the DBs are Tease Tabor of Florida, Tre'Davious White, LSU, Minka Fitzpatrick, Alabama, Arian Penton, Missouri, Daniel Carlson, Auburn, and the kicker is Daniel Carlson of Auburn, and the punter is J.K. Scott of Alabama, with the punt returner also being Christian Kirk, which if that doesn't tell you how versatile and useful Christian Kirk is to your football team, well, then nothing ever will. Notably missing from the all-SEC coaches' first team is a Georgia player. Anybody from Georgia. And it's hard to disagree with that because it's weird. It's not like Georgia's untalented. They're talented. But they don't have a first-team all-SEC player. And the way that team played this year, I think you have to kind of agree with that. They're a bunch of young guys that have a future of being all-SEC players, but you don't have any on that roster this year. And if you were going to look for a guy who could possibly have been that, it would have had to have been Nick Chubb, but we didn't get a Nick Chubb-like year from Nick Chubb. Just dinged up the entire year. And in the SEC, running back is always a position of depth. You just weren't going to find it. the way that he played this year, he wasn't going to be an all-SEC first-team player. This is what the all-SEC second team is. And this is where I start to disagree with it, especially with the quarterback. But we're not going to we'll get through it, right? Quarterback Josh Dobbs / Chad Kelly. So I already don't like the fact that you picked two. Pick one. Pick one. If you've got some guys tied, vote again. Pick one. Running back, Raleigh Williams III, Arkansas. Other running backs, Ralph Webb / Leonard Fournette. Wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, Alabama. Wide receiver, Fred Ross, Mississippi State. Tight end, O.J. Howard, Alabama. Offensive line, Braden Smith, Auburn. O-line, Will Holden, Vanderbilt. O-line, Martez Ivey, Florida. O-line, Alex Kozan, Auburn. And O-line, John Toth, Kentucky, with our all-purpose being Darius. Guys, all defense, second team is Arden Key, LSU. Montravius Adams, Auburn. Caleb Brantley, Florida. Charles Harris, Missouri. Our linebackers are Tim Williams, Alabama. Gerard Davis, Florida. Jordan Jones, Kentucky. And our DBs are Jamal Adams, LSU. Eddie Jackson, Alabama. Quincy Wilson, Florida. Justin Evans, Texas A&M. And the kicker is Gary Wunderlich of Ole Miss. And the punter is Johnny Townsend of Florida, with our punt return being Evan Berry of your Tennessee Volunteers. And again, on the second team, not one Georgia Bulldog, which is crazy. And I don't think anybody did it on purpose. It just blows my mind. There's not a single all-SEC player to be found in Georgia? None? Okay. I mean, look, I'm not saying that this is a sign for Kirby Smart or anything, just that it's hard to have a first-year coaching situation where you lose to Tennessee, you lose to Vandy, you lose to a lot of rivals, and then you lose to Georgia Tech, right? So, all the big rivalry games you don't win, and then you have not produced an all-SEC player. And I can't disagree with the coaches for voting the way that they voted, because it's hard to look at Georgia's roster and going, yeah, that guy's a top 3 pick in the NFL. They don't have any of those that are going to be coming out in the NFL this year. So, I mean, it's hard to disagree with the coaches, but it is a little bit mind-blowing and rattling and unsettling to see that there are no all-SEC players, first or second team, from the University of Georgia. Whew. But then I look a little bit closer, and I have some problems. That's one of my things that I'm a bigger fan of. I like quarterbacks. And one of the things that I noticed about this list is that the leading passer in the SEC, in terms of total yardage, is not an all-SEC player. That's Austin Allen, who, as I have to mention frequently, is the truth. Austin Allen is the best quarterback in the SEC. Okay, if you watch the games, and if you've been watching any Arkansas football this year, which you have to be watching because outside of Alabama, they're the most interesting team to watch. The way that they play, it's incredible. The offensive numbers that they put up passing the ball. The all-SEC quarterbacks are Chad Kelly, Josh Dobbs, and Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts is the first team, and I can understand why you'd put him there. I wouldn't necessarily, but I can understand why you would. But Jalen Hurts' success is in large part because of that offensive line, those wide receivers. Because again, look at the all-SEC offense that has shown up here, right? Cam Robinson is your left tackle. One of your wide receivers is Ardarius Stewart. And then your second team has got Calvin Ridley. So, I mean, the SEC showing up here and Alabama showing up here and all SEC teams, and I'm looking at it and going, yeah, Jalen Hurts ought to be good enough to be here. I would have thought he was the second team kind of guy because, like, numerically, Jalen Hurts is not putting up like the monster numbers. All Jalen Hurts has done so far, and I believe, by the way, this is not a put down of Jalen Hurts, but what Jalen Hurts has done so far is put Alabama in a position to have a playmaker that they've never had before. I think Jalen Hurts is a playmaker. I think he has the potential to be a truly dangerous football player. What I don't see from Jalen Hurts is him being the best quarterback in the SEC this year. Don't see it. Okay, he still makes the weird rookie mistakes that freshmen make, which is, again, not a knock against him, but then he can't be the best quarterback in the SEC. He's the best, and it goes back to that MVP conversation that you have to have all the time. What the heck is an MVP? Is the MVP the most valuable player to his team specifically, or is he most valuable because he is the best player on the best team? Because if he's the quarterback of the best team in the SEC, if that's what makes him first team, well, then go on right ahead. But then you're going to have to put everybody else in Alabama on this list. Right? So that's not how this works. Who's the best quarterback in the SEC? Is it not Austin Allen? Because I already have a problem with, first off, choosing for the second team, Josh Dobbs and Chad Kelly. It should just be, if it's going to be Josh Dobbs or Chad Kelly, it should just be Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs has had a way better year than Chad Kelly. And it's not close. It's actually not close. Chad Kelly started off looking like the better quarterback. But by the time we got to the end of the 2016 season, Josh Dobbs was playing the better football. Chad Kelly shrunk away. Let's take a look at the number of games that they had with multiple touchdowns. Okay, to start the season, Josh Dobbs, multiple touchdown games. 3 touchdowns against Virginia Tech. 2 touchdowns against Ohio. 4 touchdowns. And this is just passing touchdowns. 4 touchdowns against Florida. 3 touchdowns against Georgia. Then he's got 1 against Texas A&M, 0 against Alabama, 1 against South Carolina. Then he picks it up again at Texas Tech, 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns against Kentucky, 3 touchdowns against Missouri, 2 touchdowns against Vanderbilt. Right? But take a look at what Chad Kelly's doing here. Chad Kelly starts the season against Florida State, 4 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns against Wofford. 3 touchdowns against Bama. 2 touchdowns against Georgia. And then Chad Kelly doesn't have a multiple touchdown game until Auburn. 2 games before the end of the season. 1 touchdown against Memphis, 1 touchdown against Arkansas, 1 touchdown against Louisiana State. And I understand against Memphis, they moved the ball really well. Okay, he did have a good passing day. Just wasn't getting into the end zone. And then Georgia Southern, 1 touchdown. Okay, and of the 2 guys, Josh Dobbs, the better passer rating. Josh Dobbs, more rushing touchdowns. Josh Dobbs, better touchdown to interception ratio. Chad Kelly's got 19 touchdowns on the season to 9 interceptions. Josh Dobbs with 26 touchdowns on the season to 12 interceptions. That's crazy, right? That's absolutely insane. Josh Dobbs has played much better football. How do we have him and Chad Kelly in the same place with one another this season? Because I think if you have to choose one of the 2 overall, like I would still take Chad Kelly overall as a quarterback because I just like, he looks more like a quarterback to me. He's a much more traditional passer. He makes the better reads. I like him more as a quarterback. But in terms of being able to put points on the board, rack up yards for your team, Josh Dobbs over Chad Kelly this season all day. That's what it is. Which brings me to my next point. How did we end up with either of those 2 guys over Austin Allen? Right? Like I understand, like I joke about it a little bit, like Austin Allen's the truth. But no, really, Austin Allen is the truth. Austin Allen, 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So 3 touchdowns less than Josh Dobbs. But he leads the SEC in yards. 3,152 yards thrown this season. And by the way, in big games, I really like Austin Allen. Against Alabama, Austin Allen, 3 touchdowns, 400 yards. Sure, 3 interceptions, but that's par for the course if you're going to be throwing that much against Bama. I just Austin Allen against Texas A&M, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 66% of his passes completed, 156 passer rating. What am I missing here? Can somebody tell me what I'm missing here? Because like they threw the ball all over the yard this year. They really put it on his shoulders. And in terms of attacking all levels of the field, making all kinds of throws, it's been Austin Allen. It's been the Austin Allen show so far as quarterbacks in the SEC are concerned. I think that he should not only be second team All SEC, he should be first team All SEC. And Jalen Hurts should be second team All SEC. Because he was good this year, but Jalen Hurts was not the dominant quarterback in the SEC. He simply took Alabama to heights that Alabama had not ever reached at the quarterback position, which is not the highest bar to hurdle over. Like Alabama quarterback play is a relatively low bar to hurdle over, right? Like when you look at successful Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL, the last Alabama quarterback that did anything at the NFL level was Joe Namath in Super Bowl III. I mean, it's forever ago. It is forever ago. I just don't understand. And I guess there's like a flashiness to it. Like you have to choose the Alabama guy there. They're the best team in the nation. And you choose the signal caller of the best team in the nation. Like if you take Jalen Hurts off of Alabama, Alabama is not undefeated. They're still in the playoff. Let's be honest. That team is too good. They're deep at every position. They still make the playoff. They're still a playoff team. Probably a 1-loss, at max 2-loss team. Right? But they're still one of the best teams in the nation. Now we're having a conversation without Jalen Hurts. But if you replace Jalen Hurts with Austin Allen, if you replace Jalen Hurts with Josh Dobbs, you think Alabama's still not undefeated? Because you saw what Alabama did to LSU, just completely suffocated them. And they were able to overcome a bad day from Jalen Hurts with that defense. And Jalen Hurts was able to find daylight eventually, breaking off that big run in large part because the O-line's so good. If you're telling me that Josh Dobbs could not have done what Jalen Hurts did this season on that team with that level of talent surrounding them, because a lot of Josh Dobbs' struggles have to do with the fact that Tennessee's offensive line is bad. Josh Dobbs is a prolific quarterback with time. Absolutely prolific. But he doesn't have time. You're telling me you put Josh Dobbs behind Bama's offensive line. Alabama doesn't go undefeated? Because I think they still do. And if that's the case, I don't see Jalen Hurts as being a first or second team All-SEC quarterback. But that's just me. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. Make sure to check us out on NoogaRadio.com and in the TuneIn Radio app. So, Draymond Green has gotten upset. Draymond Green does not like it when people tell him that his motion after being fouled is unnatural. And Draymond Green has said, in response to people who think that his flailing is unnatural, that they just don't get how the human body works. Who are you to criticize? The NBA has called Draymond Green's acts unnatural acts, in quotes, right? And part of the reason why the Warriors blew that 3-1 lead in the finals is because Draymond Green swung his leg up in an unnatural fashion after being fouled and kicked LeBron James in the undercarriage. Just kicked him. And not only that, Draymond Green kicked Steven Adams in the undercarriage twice in one series. Draymond Green, since this season has started, has kicked yet another person in the face. Like, Draymond Green is out of control with this, right? So the NBA is like, look, we're going to call a foul on him. And Draymond Green offered his thoughts on the ruling. And he said this. He said, it's funny how you can tell me how I get hit and how my body is supposed to react. I didn't know the league office was that smart when it came to body movements. I'm not sure if they took kinesiology for their positions to tell you how your body is going to react when you get hit in a certain position, or you go up and you have guys jumping to the ceiling. A lot of these guys make the rules that can't touch the rim, yet they tell us what you're supposed to do on the way up in the air, which your body is going to do. I don't understand that. That's like me going in there and saying, hey, you did something on your paperwork wrong. I don't know what your paperwork looks like, but it is what it is. Let them keep telling people how their body reacts, I guess. They need to go take a few more kinesiology classes, though. Maybe they can take a taping class or a functional movement class. Let me know how the body works, because clearly mine don't work the right way. That would be doesn't work the right way, Draymond. But more importantly, Deadspin.com went out and found a kinesiologist. They found a New York City-based exercise physiologist who's taken plenty of kinesiology classes. She is a basketball fan. She holds a master's in applied exercise physiology. And in true Deadspin fashion, they got somebody to debunk Draymond Green or whatever person it is that's spouting foolishness in the most hilarious way imaginable. And here she did. She broke down. She watched the Draymond Green tape, and she emailed Deadspin her breakdown of Draymond's quote-unquote unnatural acts. And the takeaway was this. While I don't think there's necessarily malintent on the part of Draymond Green, there appears to be a level of carelessness to his motions, and I will tell you why. Jumping requires upward propulsion, and because muscles cannot push, they only pull. All of the effort through the kinetic chain should be focused on extending through the posterior chain. In other words, it is mechanically counterproductive to lift a leg in the middle of or end of a jump. If you really think about it, lifting the thigh at the peak of a jump would only inhibit one's action of momentum. If you are trying to get up, lifting your leg through the PSOAS or the quad is working against your jumping musculature. In other words, lifting your leg is counterproductive to actually jumping in the air, and therefore you are going out of your way to do so. But Draymond Green claims that he cannot control the movement of his leg. You can't control this kind of thing. And that's nonsense. Of course you can. You absolutely can, and I know you can, because I've watched basketball my whole life, and I watched basketball with my father, who watched basketball before I was born. And everybody I know that's been watching the NBA and college basketball and high school basketball and middle school basketball and pickup basketball for years and years and years and years has not seen anybody fling their leg up and kick this many people with this degree of regularity and call it an accident. You absolutely can control it, and you should. Look, if everybody that's ever played basketball can do it, you can too, Draymond. I don't want to hear that this is just how my body works. Well, you better change it. Right? Like, if you're missing all your free throws, you could miss all your free throws, or you could try and change your form and make some more free throws and not just go, oh, this is how my body works. You got to be an elite athlete by changing your body. Change it one more time and stop kicking people underneath where it hurts. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. Make sure to check me out at Sports Cloud on Twitter. I tweet things, and they're funny sometimes.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Today, 1240 Eagle Radio News. Russell Stroud reporting. A Bradley County man was riddled by bullets early this morning. It was airlifted to Erlanger. Detectives are trying to find out what exactly happened. The shooting occurred on Zion Hill Road. And in Harrison, another man was airlifted after a serious ATV accident. He apparently crashed and was seriously injured. He had to be airlifted by life force to Erlanger Medical Center. Hamilton County Sheriff's investigating. Two more school bus lawsuits have popped up against Durham School Services, two of them filed on behalf of Barbara Eccles and Tanisha Williams, the mother of a 7-year-old boy and the mother of a 10-year-old girl. Both were injured in the bus wreck, which killed 6 on Talley Road. In Sevier County, 2 teenagers have been charged with aggravated arson. Both were taken into custody and taken to Sevier County Juvenile Detention Center. They're accused of starting the fire, which caused so much tragedy and death and destruction in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And we want to remind you, as it gets freezing outside, bring your pets indoors or give them adequate shelter. It's not just a good idea, it's also the law. It's going on in the Tennessee Valley. It's going on AM 1240 Nooga Radio.
Expect clear skies to continue through your nighttime. Very cold overnight. Lows 20 to 24. For Friday, lots of sunshine. Still a little breeze now the north. Highs only 38 to 40. Tomorrow night, lows closer to 20. More sunshine, a little warmer. Saturday, back into the 40s. Black Friday deals are still happening at Lowe's. Hurry in and save $150 on a DeWalt 20-volt combo kit. Offer valid December 14th through December 24th. See Lowe's store for details. And I'm Storm Team 12's Chief Meteorologist, Patrick Moore.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is the choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ooh, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry. And save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Or maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. 50% off right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventive maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. Bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It must be tough to be Mel Kiper Chief. That's a tough job. You sit there every year and try and predict which guys are going to be great NFL talents and which guys aren't going to be. And I mean, you catch a lot of flack, right? Because you are very often wrong. And this is not to bash Mel Kiper, because Mel Kiper is a very intelligent guy. He's smarter than me. He's smarter than you. He's smarter than us, right? He's very smart. But what he's doing is impossible. Is absolutely impossible. There is no way to know who's going to actually turn out to be a great NFL pro and who isn't. You can speculate a lot. It's like being the weather guy. People make fun of weather guys a lot, right? Like at this station, we have Patrick Court. I respect him a lot. I think he's a good weather guy. I don't know. But we make fun of the weather guys often because weather guys make a prediction on something that is almost impossible to know. You are speculating based on information that you have. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that I always find interesting. Everybody makes fun of the weather guy and weather services, but yet you all check the weather. Why? Why? Because there's no way with any of your senses you can know if 5 days from now it's really going to rain. Right? But the weather guy is not just guessing. And part of it, too, is that I'm not going to lie. You people are reading this information incorrectly. When it says there's an 80% chance of precipitation, it doesn't mean that there's an 80% chance it's going to rain. What it means is that 80% of your area could be covered with a rain. And there's a percentage that 80% of your area could be covered in rain, which is to say you might be living in the area that don't got any rain. But anyway, it's hard to be the weather person because weather people catch a lot of flack for knowing or trying to know the unknowable. And the thing is, they still get a whole lot closer than the rest of you would if you were to look at that same information. You don't know what any of that stuff means. When was the last time you read a barometer? No, I'll wait because I know I haven't. Anytime recently. Like I remember in middle school, we had to do a project with the barometer. So that's the last time I touched a barometer. That's probably also the last time I said the word barometer out loud. Right? You don't know. They may be guessing, but they're guessing with a whole lot more information than you have. Let me guess. Would you rather a weatherman try and tell you the weather and be wrong some of the time or even a lot of the time than your grandma going, hey, I think I smell rain? Because that's your other option. Your other option is your great aunt telling you, I can feel it in my bones. That's your other option of information. So we will stick with the weathermen and the Mel Kiper Jr.'s of the world trying to predict what it is that is happening inside the NFL, right? Because Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, in 2014, their top picks were Jadeveon Clowney and Sammy Watkins and Khalil Mack. And Johnny Manziel was a high pick that everyone considered. And Blake Bortles was another one. Right? Like you just had all of these guys and they're turning out to either not pan out or have lots of problems with them. And part of it is we all thought that they were going to be at least a little bit good. Like you can't predict this stuff fully. It's a tough racket. And Mel Kiper is looking at some Tennessee players, right? He tweets out the draft grades that he has for some Tennessee players. This is Patrick Brown tweeting this about Mel Kiper's draft grades on 3 Tennessee Volunteers. Derek Barnett is graded as a early to mid first rounder. Alvin Kamara is graded as a 4th to 5th rounder. And Josh Dobbs is a late round to undrafted player. And you might feel kind of ways about how this is, right? Like, I don't think anybody's going to fight you too hard on the Josh Dobbs thing because Josh Dobbs is a better runner than he is a passer. And we know how that tends to work out in the NFL. But Alvin Kamara is a guy that replaced Jalen Hurd and looked really good doing it while battling off injury. And 4th to 5th round might sound pretty even for him, might sound like it makes some sense. But on some level, like it might be a bit low. Like you could argue Alvin Kamara into a mid to early 3rd round situation. Because I know a lot of teams that he would fit on very well in terms of being that kind of scat back, but he also proved at Tennessee that he had to spend some time working between the tackles, and he did a pretty admirable job of it. And running back is a position in the NFL that's getting harder and harder to assess. in large part because you've only got like a handful of really great guys. And then everybody else, The running game in the NFL is declining, so you just have a bunch of guys, and teams are okay with the guys because you're throwing the ball more. But it helps when you've got Le'Veon Bell. Like, the Steelers look better with Le'Veon Bell than without Le'Veon Bell. Look how bad the Packers look whenever they don't have Eddie Lacy being in shape or James Starks being adequate. Right? Like, you never know about those running backs until you're missing an elite guy. Right? Like, nobody in the league, there's no Mike Shanahan in the league. There is no team that is just pulling a running back, a 6th-round running back, out of their keister and putting him on a football team. And, oh, look, this guy's good too. Remember that? In the 2000s, the Denver Broncos, Mike Shanahan was just pulling running backs out. Just, hey, you know what? We may have traded away Clinton Portis, but it's okay. We have Reuben Drones. We've got Tatum Bell starting at quarterback. And Tatum Bell was good for like 3 weeks. And then we moved on to the next guy. Just happens, man. Drafted Alfred Morris. Like, we just don't have a Mike Shanahan in the league anymore. So I feel like Alvin Kamara is the guy that you don't have to reach very hard for, that has the capabilities of what a modern NFL running back needs to have. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's very quick. He's elusive. He's a little hard to tackle. He can run between the tackles if need be. He's very good at following his blocker. He's not a bad pass blocker. Not great. He's not bad. And then here's the one that people will have the most beef with, right? Derek Barnett, an early to mid first rounder. And everyone is talking about Derek Barnett and going, well, like, he should be ranked up there with guys like Myles Garrett from A&M and Jonathan Allen from Alabama in terms of pass rushers. He led the conference with 12 sacks. And I'll give this to Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett might be one of the most powerful pass rushers I've ever seen. He might be. But in terms of having a second and third move to go to when your first move doesn't work, Derek Barnett got taken out of a lot of Tennessee games this year when they needed him. He got taken out of a bunch. You know, and not everybody plays equal levels of schedule either, right? So when you look at what Derek Barnett was able to do this season, the 12 sacks, it is impressive. And his career at Tennessee, in terms of tying Reggie White's sack record, it's all impressive stuff. But I think early to mid first rounder is right where he belongs. If I'm talking about the natural talent to find the quarterback, I do think Myles Garrett is better than Derek Barnett. And I do think Jonathan Allen is better than Derek Barnett. Not by much. It's not a chasm. And certainly, all of the problems with Derek Barnett, and I say problems in quotes because he's a young guy. He's going to be a rookie. What are you going to do, right? All of the quote-unquote problems with Derek Barnett are coachable problems, right? You don't have any, he's not lacking in physical tools. He's not physically stunted. You don't have any issues where his arms are too short or he's too heavy or he's not explosive and fast. He has all of the tangibles. What he doesn't have to go to when situations get a little weird and situations get a little hairy is a second and third move. When he goes up against an offensive lineman that can neutralize him, he gets neutralized. And I don't think that's unfair if you're Mel Kiper to look at that and go, okay, this is still first-round talent. This is just not top of the first-round talent. Like, if I'm taking in my top 5 picks and I've got Jonathan Allen, Myles Garrett, and Derek Barnett, I'm more than likely not taking Myles Garrett. It might be more of a toss-up between Allen and Barnett, but I'm taking Garrett. I think of the pass rushers, he is the most naturally gifted in terms of his instincts as well as the physical tools. Right? Because I do think Jonathan Allen, it's hard to get a read on that guy, just in large part because Alabama's defense is so good. But it is so good because the front four is so good. So I don't think that it's something that you could easily write off. I'm just I'm just curious as to why people are that mad about it. It's difficult to judge Kamara. I think you could argue him higher than 4th or 5th. I think he's better than 4th or 5th. And Dobbs is probably right where he should be when you have the questions surrounding, but is this guy an NFL QB? And the way that he passes the ball and his accuracy level and the inconsistency when your offensive line's not good, I don't think that's an NFL QB. Because everybody struggles when the offensive line's not good, but you can't expect the offensive line to always be good. And Josh Dobbs has got mobility, so like you almost expect him to be a better passer. And he was a great college player. But the questions about the NFL, I can see those questions being valid. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. Mel Kiper drops some draft grades on 3 Tennessee players. Josh Dobbs late in one of the late rounds, maybe undrafted as a player. Alvin Kamara, 4th or 5th round, and he has Derek Barnett in the early to mid 1st round, which I think that on all 3 of those, he is more or less correct. I think he's got Kamara a little bit low, but I think that he's actually fine with his placement of Derek Barnett. It's just very difficult to get a read on all of that stuff. And again, being a prognosticator of the NFL draft and of NFL player success, nobody's going to get most of this stuff right. Like, you can always go back to somebody's mock draft and find stuff and laugh. I've made mock drafts, okay? Back when I had way more free time and I was not in college at the time. I had dropped out for a year to try and save up some money. I had enough time to do some mock drafting. I did the research, the analysis. I found all the footage of a person I could find. I watched it. And you find yourself still alarmingly wrong on a lot of this stuff. And I'm not by any means an expert, just a guy that had a lot of time. And even with all the time, it was like, no, you're just not going to be right on a lot of this. Right? Like, it's easy to laugh at a person's mock draft until you've got to make yours. Okay, so now I got a couple reports to get to. Coaching reports. First coaching report is a coaching rumor that Charlie Strong is the head candidate to replace Willie Taggart at the University of South Florida. And it's so funny to watch this coaching carousel. It is just musical chairs. Like, nobody really got lost by the wayside. It wasn't one of those years where a guy's getting fired and he ain't coming back, right? Les Miles probably isn't. But Charlie Strong, fired, but probably moving to South Florida, maybe. He's the target there, replacing Willie Taggart, who got to go to Oregon. P.J. Fleck was one of the candidates at Oregon, but Oregon didn't take him, so he re-ups at Western Michigan. Like, you just have guys shifting around all over the place. Matt Rule goes from Temple to Baylor. It's interesting. You just have guys shifting all over the place, and nobody's really vanishing. You just got guys that are just still here, right? And speaking of guys that are just still here, other coaching report, the University of Houston has tagged Lane Kiffin as their lead candidate, which isn't to say that they've decided on anybody as yet, according to any information that I've been able to come across, just that Lane Kiffin was the number one guy, right? Somebody did report earlier in the day Lane Kiffin was going to be the next head coach of Houston, to which the athletic director of Houston cryptically tweeted a picture of the Vatican where the gray smoke is still coming out of the is it a chimney? I guess it's a chimney out of the smokestack. And if the smoke is still gray, then that means they haven't chosen a pope yet. Yeah, it was like that. He posted that picture instead of answering any questions. In other words, Lane Kiffin is not officially the head coach of the University of Houston yet, but he is the leading candidate. And I think that is an interesting hire for Houston, because Lane Kiffin about to use y'all as a stepping stone. That's about to be what's going to happen. Right? And it kind of happened because Willie Taggart left the University of South Florida, that everybody was able to kind of use South Florida as that extra leverage. Because South Florida and Houston are two schools in fairly similar positions, which is that you were bad at football for a very long time, and suddenly you got very good at football. You were beating Power 5 schools. You're putting up 10-win seasons. Yeah, people can respect you now. You don't want to go back to having that lack of respect. Nobody wants to go backwards. Ew. No. So you're going to put up the money and invest in your football program for these big-name guys, which means you're going to be used as leverage in a lot of different ways. Okay, and I got another coaching report here. Other coaching report, Art Briles is about to sue everybody. The fired Art Briles is the bad guy in every movie where you think he's beaten, but you know, because there's like 20 minutes left in the movie before the heroes reach the goal, that he's coming back. Right? Like in Terminator. They beat him, but there's like 20 minutes left in the movie, and of course he comes back. You know, and he's half melted, his face is half melted away, and he's got the metal skeleton underneath. He's coming back. This is what's happening here. Art Briles is suing Baylor Regents vice president for libel and conspiracy. That's right, the conspiracy. What is the conspiracy? To stop Art Briles from getting another coaching job. This is according to a report from CBS Sports. The lawsuit accuses Regents Chairman Roland Murph and board members J. Kerry Gray and David Harper and Baylor Vice President Reagan Ramsower of falsely stating that he knew of reported sexual assaults and alleged gang rape by Baylor football players and did not report them. He, of course, is alleging that he did not know, and members of Baylor's Board of Regents spoke with the Wall Street Journal earlier this year and alleged that Briles was, quote, aware of one of the alleged gang rapes and did not notify the school's Title IX office. Briles is going to sue because he has to sue. Art Briles is not about to find himself in a Bill Cosby situation. And what's the Bill Cosby situation? You didn't tell everybody that it didn't happen. Right? Like people came out and accused you and you didn't want to talk about it and you didn't want to be specific. But you weren't shouting from the mountaintops that it didn't happen. I'm just saying, if I got accused of, I was talking to a buddy about this one time, if I got accused of what Bill Cosby got accused of, I'm climbing to the top of a mountain and I'm shouting that I did not do it. I did not do it. Right? Like, even if it's not true, which is where we are with Art Briles. Either Art Briles knew, somebody's lying. Either Art Briles knew and didn't say, or he did say, and these guys are just making him out to be some kind of really bad guy. But either way, Art Briles knows you've got to go to the mountaintops and sing that it didn't happen. It did not happen. No, 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 no. It did not happen. It didn't go down like that. Right? Like everybody's been in that position. Whether or not the position was right or wrong, or whether or not it was true, you cannot allow yourself to be accused of certain things. And Art Briles is not about to allow himself to be accused of that he knew about rape and didn't say anything. Yeah, no. And he's accusing them of saying that because of that, he can't get a job anywhere. And it's like, no, you're radioactive for a number of reasons. First off, whether or not that ever happened, like if that happened and you reported it and then nothing happened, you didn't try hard enough. This happened on your watch. You're the head coach. If you wanted somebody to know, because we know the powers that head coaches have on college campuses, especially in Texas. If you are the head coach of a team and you wanted people to know that this was happening, people would have known that this was happening. That's why you're toxic. Whether or not these guys said anything is not what's stopping you from getting a job. If you're Art Briles, you're about to get that money. You're going to try and get that money. You're going to try and clear your name. You're going to try and come back to coaching. That's going to be your play. You are the Terminator in the movie. You got beaten, but you came back anyway because we can't beat you. There's clearly 20 to 25 minutes left in this movie, and we're not done. We have not seen the last of Art Briles. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. And I'll see you in 72 hours.
You get about 12 minutes and 40